The Equitable Doctrine of Clean Hands. 1. Introduction to the Doctrine of Clean Hands. The Equitable Doctrine of Clean Hands is a foundational principle in both American and international jurisprudence. It mandates that any party seeking relief through the courts, especially in equity, must demonstrate that they themselves have acted honorably, lawfully, and in good faith with respect to the matter at hand. This doctrine serves as a gatekeeping mechanism to prevent those who have engaged in fraud, deceit, coercion, or concealment from obtaining legal or equitable remedies. In administrative and commercial processes, the doctrine is not only applicable but enforceable through documentation, affidavits, and a properly maintained administrative record. When invoked by a party who has remained in honor and maintained procedural integrity, the Clean Hands Doctrine can nullify the claims, standing, or enforcement attempts of any opposing party who has committed acts of dishonor. Footnote: This section introduces the core definition and enforceability of the Clean Hands Doctrine in equity and administrative law. 2. Legal foundations and jurisdictional relevance. The legal origins of the Clean Hands Doctrine are rooted in the English Chancery Courts and were codified in American equity jurisprudence during the 19th century. In modern practice, the doctrine transcends civil procedure and applies equally within statutory, equitable, and administrative jurisdictions. A court sitting in equity may refuse relief to a petitioner who has breached a duty of fair dealing or engaged in duplicity, even if that petitioner would otherwise be entitled to relief under law. In administrative law, the principle is mirrored through doctrines such as estoppel, laches, and abuse of discretion. A party invoking equitable standing must satisfy the threshold of procedural honor and factual transparency. If they cannot, they risk forfeiture of their legal position and claim. Footnote: This section explains the jurisdictional scope and historical legal development of the Clean Hands Doctrine. 3. Application in private administrative remedy. In the private domain, particularly in matters of contractual disagreement or commercial enforcement, the doctrine of clean hands is enforceable by affidavit. Where one party issues a conditional acceptance, followed by a notice of default or opportunity to cure, the administrative record becomes the venue of adjudication. If the initiating party fails to perform with full disclosure, fairness, or adherence to procedure, their standing collapses under the weight of the doctrine. Clean hands is not invoked merely by accusation, but by evidentiary demonstration that the other party has acted in dishonor. Thus, a well-documented paper trail, notarized declarations, and uncontested affidavits form the structure upon which equitable relief can be claimed or denied. Footnote: This section details how clean hands operates in administrative and private remedy processes through commercial documentation. 4. Criteria and evidentiary thresholds. To invoke the Clean Hands Doctrine effectively, a party must show that the opposing party acted with willful misconduct, concealed material facts, breached fiduciary duty, or knowingly engaged in fraud. The court, or in private remedy, the public record, requires a standard of evidence consistent with the seriousness of the allegation. This includes documented timelines, correspondence, proof of dishonor, and unrebutted affidavits. Notarized submissions that go uncontested within a defined period may legally operate as judgments, especially under uniform commercial code mechanisms. The evidentiary burden rests on the party asserting dishonor, and their credibility is weighed not only on the evidence they present but the manner in which they conducted themselves throughout the process. Footnote: This section outlines the evidentiary burdens required to successfully invoke the doctrine of clean hands. 5. Implications for public servants and officials. Public officers acting under color of law are not exempt from the doctrine of clean hands. Their oaths of office, fiduciary obligations, and adherence to administrative procedure place them in the highest category of accountability. When a public official knowingly enforces a rule, code, or citation without full jurisdiction, proper notice, or authority, they may be acting in bad faith. Should such actions be challenged by an affidavit of truth and go unrebutted, the official's authority may be voided under the doctrine, and personal liability may attach. The doctrine thus serves as a check against abuse of discretion and a tool for preserving constitutional and procedural integrity. Footnote: this section addresses how the clean hands doctrine applies to public servants and their legal accountability. 6. Conclusion: honor as standing in equity. The equitable doctrine of clean hands is more than a legal technicality, it is a substantive ethical requirement embedded in jurisprudence. It functions as both a sword and a shield in commercial, administrative, and equitable procedures. The party in honor not only gains standing but may also gain remedy by default when the opposing party violates principles of fair dealing. In a legal system often dominated by form over substance, the doctrine of clean hands restores a necessary moral axis. It affirms that law without honor is not justice, and remedy without merit is not lawful. Footnote: this section emphasizes the ethical and procedural power of remaining in honor under the clean hands doctrine.